Hi everyone, this is Dr. Daly from PSY 120. I wanted to make a quick video, hopefully it will be quick, kind of walking you through the process of doing searches in the library databases. You will find that you will need to do this pretty often in your work as a psychology, neuroscience, or human development major. Anytime you have a faculty member who assigns you a piece of writing to do and asks you to have sources of particular kinds, it's really useful to be able to go to these databases through our library page and have some practice knowing how to use them. So in your assignment, what we're asking you to do is you can pick one of these topics: mindfulness, multitasking, trauma, stress, whatever you want, and then go to the library page. There are three databases that are probably the most common that we use if we are studying psychology topics. And those will be PsycInfo, PsycNet, and the Psychology and Behavioral Sciences collection. Now, sometimes our neuroscience students also will find themselves using things like Medline and Medline Plus, and some biology databases as well. And our human development and family sciences students may find themselves using some sociological databases, also education databases too. So we're going to get some practice with, the basics. You can use these tools and techniques with pretty much any of the databases that you can find through our library. Then we want you to, with each of these databases, to look at your search term, whichever one you chose, and just plug it in, see how many hits you get, and then I want you to practice limiting your search so that you can look for peer-reviewed empirical studies, because many times you're going to have faculty who are going to ask you, I want you to write this research paper and I want you to only use peer-reviewed journal articles, or I only want you to use empirical studies, or both would be pretty common. And then we want you to select an article from your search results, just one from your search results, and produce a reference, because that's another thing you're going to have to do as a major, is to produce reference pages that are in APA style. So we're going to start, and we have this worksheet that you can add information to. So we're going to start, most of the time I use PsycInfo, so we're going to start there. So I go to the library page, I hit psychology. All three of our databases are in the P's. So I'm going to start with PsycInfo. PsycInfo is a big database. It's basically provided by the APA. So is PsycNet. They're just different in the way they're laid out. So let's say I'm interested in meditation. So the first time you do your search, we don't want you to do any manipulation of the database. Just put it in there, see how much you get. So the first time through, what I find is, without doing any filters, I get a little over 10,000 hits when I search for the term meditation. Then I want to narrow my search results. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to advanced search, and I need to do some limiting. There are lots of ways you could limit your search. One of the buttons you can choose is peer-reviewed. You can also use this over here, publication type, peer-reviewed journal, because that's typically what your faculty are going to ask you to do. And then under methodology is where you're going to find empirical study. So we want to select that. So when we hit search, what you'll see is you have far fewer results for you to weed through. Now the last thing we're asking you to do is to generate a citation, or a reference rather, sorry. So I'm going to pick one article: app-based mindfulness meditation reduces perceived stress and improves self-regulation in working university students. I'm sure none of you can relate to that at all. There's a tool in PsycInfo that is helpful, although it is not perfect, so be careful. If you go over to the right-hand side and click on the word cite, go to APA 7th edition because that is the citation style that we require in psychology. And what you see here is a properly formatted, you will sometimes find errors in these, so it's important that you look at them carefully. What we do in APA style, we have the references built with the author names, the year of publication, the title of the article, which is in sentence case, meaning that the first word is capitalized, the first word after a colon is capitalized, everything else is lowercase, unless it's a proper name or an acronym. The journal title, which is not the same thing as an article title, so it's the journal title, and the volume number are in italics. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. And then there's a page number, and then there's this fancy thing called a DOI, and this is like an internet-based identifier number that helps us to track where an article is always going to have a home. And the APA manual is now requiring us to have those as a part of our references if in fact they are available. And most of the time they are. Now, what I tend to do if I'm building up my own reference page, I copy this, I vet it for errors, then I go back to my document where I want to put it. You can't just hit paste because here's what it'll look like. See all this background noise? It will have some kind of formatting in the background that is annoying and it's really hard to get rid of. So what I do instead is I paste in plain text. Then I go back in and I fix my italics, which have been removed. And then I add what's called a hanging indent. By using the paragraph box, I go to the special box and I click hanging. And there you have it, a properly formatted APA style reference. All right, let's go to our second database. So I'm going to go up here and get out of PsycInfo, and I'm going to go to PsycNet. Now, PsycNet, it looks different. There are many ways of going about using this. So we're going to start the same way we did with PsycInfo. First, before I do that, I need to tell it what I want. And I only want articles. I'm not interested in tests. I'm not interested in books. So I'm only going to choose articles. Then I'm going to put in my search term. I'm still interested in meditation, and then I'm going to hit search. And I'm going to look at how many results. Notice this PsycNet gives you far fewer results than what you get in PsycInfo. That's primarily because of they are only dealing with APA publications. The PsycInfo deals with all kinds of publications, not just APA. It will therefore, this is a much less broad search. So if I want to go back and do this a little more narrowly, I can select filters. So if I want to search by document type, I can select journal article. And then if I want to add another filter, I can choose methodology and say empirical study. And then I'm going to hit search again. And you see about half the number there. So if I pick an article, meditation trips, a thematic analysis combined naturalistic use of psychedelics, meditation practices. Whew, that's an interesting one. So here, they're not going to give you a perfectly formatted reference, but you have the basics. Now, this one's interesting. It's an advanced online publication, so you're not going to be given like a volume number, an issue number, or even page numbers. because it hasn't, this is like, you can go to their website and you can read the article in advanced form. It still has a DOI number. So let's say I chose this one and I want to use it. I copy it just like I showed you the last time, and I paste as plain text. I'm going to have to correct my journal title, put it in italics, and create a hanging indent for it. All right, so let's look at our last database. And this one is the more annoying of the three in terms of the way it's built. You can see the EBSCOhost is the opening for it. You do have advanced search options, which takes you to what looks more familiar. So I usually, when I go to Psychology and Behavioral Sciences collection, I make sure I hit the advanced search right off the bat. So I type in my search term, assuming I can type, and I hit search. So this time I've got about 13,000 results, and this is before I do any kind of limitation. So if I go back to my advanced search, you will notice that I don't have as much control over limitations in this particular database as I did with PsycInfo. And that's one of my reasons for having a preference for this type. So you can click the box for peer-reviewed. Your options here are things like article, bibliography, book chapter, case study, entertainment review. None of these say journal article. So I'm going to start with peer-reviewed, and then what I'm going to have to do is hit search, and then you can go over here. It will be peer-reviewed. You won't be able to determine to use a limiter that's going to let you directly choose empirical study. So that word isn't going to show up. However, you can go with academic journals as an option, and that's going to reduce your findings somewhat. Now you are going to have to make some judgments about, does this appear? When we say empirical study, what we mean is a set of researchers or a researcher actually collected their own data. So they're not writing a theoretical article, they're not doing a lit review, they're actually doing a piece of research. So the impact of mindfulness meditation training and practice on postgraduate coaching students. That's a title that sounds like an empirical study to me. So I click on it, and I scroll down and look at the abstract. It appears that they are reporting on an empirical piece of research. And just like with the PsycInfo, you can use the citation and reference generator and select your reference here. And again, you have to kind of vet it, make sure it looks right. This one appears to be correct. And then you can copy that information. So that's my tour through the databases that you will use for your assignment this week. I hope that was helpful. If you have any additional questions, please let me know.